They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet 'cause they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho,
they're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stars in the House. I am not Seth Rudetsky, nor James Wesley. I'm Jason Danieley, and I'm so happy to be here as your guest host this evening. I'm so thrilled, to host this, but also to give Seth and James and Julie a very well-deserved vacation. They're taking a couple extra days for themselves. I think they were heading out to Provincetown last night. Seth could not release the reins. He was sitting in the back of the car on his cell phone, checking in. He did the opening of the show, which was fantastic, by the way. It was a Smokey Joe's Cafe. And if you're new to this platform, you can go to their YouTube page and watch last night's episode and the night before and the night before. They've been doing this ever since Broadway shut down. And it's an extraordinary opportunity for us who are quarantined and self-isolated around the country, around the world, to reach out to our theater community and sort of virtually come together as that theater community when we can't physically be with one another. I didn't get myself a glass of water, which I'm sure I'm going to rue the day in a little bit, because I'm so excited to be here and to talk shop in a fun and loving way with my co-stars from the musical Curtains, written by the incredible, iconic songwriting team of Kander and Ebb, with a book by Rupert Holmes, who just so happens to enjoy pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. We might not hear any of his pop hits, but we would definitely talk about his theater hits. I'll be joined by our director, Scott Ellis, our music director, David Loud. We will talk Kander and Ebb. We will talk Curtains specifically, and then a slew of our original Broadway company. I wish I could have crammed everyone into this platform, but we can only have 10 people. We're jockeying things here tonight. We can only have 10 people on the platform all together. So we're going to be keeping some people out, putting some people in. And thanks to David Katz, who's the technical director here, to keep things running smoothly as possible. I'm going to check my notes because this is my first day in school, y'all. And I said Stars in the House. Well, how best to describe it? It's a daily live streaming series that supports the Actors Fund and its services. And as I alluded to, I think it's just a welcome distraction to all that is going on in the world. At the same time, it's bringing us an acute awareness of what is going on during these difficult times. One of our guests this evening, which is a regular here, with COVID-19 updates by Dr. Jonathan Lepuc, who is the chief medical correspondent for CBS News, as well as Stars in the House. Seth and James say that this show will be running until Broadway reopens. So thank God for that. We're going to get our daily dose of Broadway through this incredible show. And thank you again to everyone who makes this possible. Not just David Katz, as I had mentioned, but to the PR team who sends out tweets and Instagrams, really to keep everyone informed of what's going on, and everyone of the Broadway community who participates. Tonight, the company of Curtains, last night, Smokey Joe's Cafe. I was on a few months back with Cheetah Rivera and the company of The Visit and the Full Monty. It's fantastic for us to be able to share our passion and love about Broadway and theater, live theater, this incredible spiritual need that I think we all have deep inside of us, that is not getting satisfied. So this is doing it. So thank you to my Broadway musical community for sharing their time and their effort to bring this to the people who love theater, the people who keep it going. And I don't have a crystal ball, but we will come back. Theater is one of the longest surviving entities of entertainment. It has survived plagues before, so we will see everyone on the other side of this across the footlights. I want to let you know a little bit about the Actors Fund that this show benefits. It's a national human services organization that provides a safety net for performing arts and entertainment professionals. This fund serves everyone in film, theater, television, music, opera, radio, dance, and is not just actors, crew, people who work backstage, wardrobe, hair department, front of house. The list goes on and on. They provide emergency financial assistance, which is really the reason why I asked Seth and James if they would allow me to put together a musical video for the show. And I have my creatives from the original company, designers, and most of the original cast in a video that we'll show you a little bit later on. But it's to highlight the emergency financial assistance that the Actors Fund is providing right now. There's a website which I will hunt down. I didn't put in my notes directly. It came to me, actorsfund.org/get-help. And it'll be at the end of the music video a little bit later on, which will also live on their YouTube page, and you can watch it again and share it with your friends. Please do. And that information is very important for those of us who are just trying to make ends meet while Broadway is shut down. Theater, I'm using Broadway as a large term, but music theater in general, Shakespeare, television, you know what's going on, and it's very difficult. The Actors Fund also provides healthcare and insurance counseling, which is, of course, paramount right now, housing, and secondary employment and training services, which I know a lot of my friends and colleagues are looking into that right now, as I said, to make ends meet, going to law school, getting that real estate license. So anything that you contribute tonight will be going to the Actors Fund, which to date, Stars in the House has raised over $452,000. That is no drop in the bucket, and it is so appreciated. So whatever you can give, you can donate. Go to starsinthehouse.com or text Fund 2020 to 56512. Okay, it's scrolling here at the bottom of the screen, and it'll be going during the whole show. Donate what you can, and then it's going to scroll back and it's going to let me know what else I forgot to tell you. Oh, so once you get your receipt for donating, forward that to donations@starsinthehouse.com, and then we'll collect your names and any sort of little shout outs you'd like to share with us. We'll read those out a little bit later on. I think Paul Castry, who is a native Rockford, Illinois person where my late wife, Maren Maisie, was from, is collecting those donation names today. It's tax deductible. Did I mention that? Thank God, because I think some of us could use a little tax deducting. As you can tell, I'm not exactly Seth Rudetsky. I'm going to say anywho right now, anywho, and get it out of the way. And amazing, and y'all can text that as much as you want, but that's about all I'm going to be able to give you. That's Seth's thing. Anyway, I want to move on to our first guest, and I'm really excited about this. It's just something that Seth and James started this month, so that yesterday was the very first time that they're putting a spotlight on the Pull Hero Project. And to tell us a little bit about this is our first guest. Kai, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for highlighting the issue.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about the Pull Hero Project? I know a little bit about it, but I'm sure I'd mangle the hell out of it.
Definitely. Well, the Poll Hero Project is working right now on recruiting poll workers for the 2020 election. Basically, because of the coronavirus pandemic, there's been a huge shortage of poll workers who are usually, older people over 60 and are vulnerable to coronavirus. And that vulnerability means that a lot of them are not willing to work this November because it presents such a risk. Well, us younger people, Gen Z, millennials, we can comparatively do this with, lower risk as long as we're taking all the necessary safety precautions, masks, social distancing, doing everything we can. So we really need to step up this year and work the polls because, the older generations who usually do it, people who are retired, have the time, they can't do it this year.
Right. That's a great point. And what was it that drew you to wanting to do this? Was it like a real important issue for you to give this service?
Well, actually, originally our team was working on vote by mail efforts because that's going to be such an important part of this election. We were trying to get 2 bills in the Senate passed, but eventually we kind of passed the point where that would be a viable strategy. And we realized that, well, a lot of people are going to be voting by mail. There's still going to be many, many people, millions, who are going to be voting in person, either because they have to, they're in a state where coronavirus isn't a valid excuse. Maybe there's other reasons they need to be assisted at the polls. There's a number of reasons why there's going to be still a huge number of people voting in person. And because of that, and because of the huge shortage created by coronavirus, we actually have a really, really huge need for poll workers right now. One of the things we were hearing from election officials in places like Philadelphia, other cities especially, was that one of their biggest problems, their biggest concerns going into the 2020 election was poll workers. So we decided that that was something that, was a huge need that we could go and then address.
Right. Just remove that, take that off the plate of any issues that, that we have. I am up in the lower Berkshires in New York State right now, live in New York City, but, I was wondering, am I going to actually drive down to the city and go? How chaotic is it going to be? So I've already put in my application to receive my absentee ballot and, hoping everything moves smoothly and safely. But so where are you all located throughout the country? Yes.
Yeah, we have our team started off pretty small when it was just originally just 4 Princeton students and a UChicago Booth School of Business graduate, the 5 of us rather. And eventually we've been expanding our team slowly. And we've got, I think, about 70 people now who are on our team working to, help people get signed up, try and recruit as many people as possible, do everything we can. And we're spread out all throughout the country, mostly high school and college students.
High school and college students. And how can people who are watching help you? I think we have on starsinthehouse.com a link to your website to be able to sign up. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah. But you can see it right there. Pollhero.org is where you can go to sign up to be a poll worker. Basically, when you sign up on there, within a couple of days, our team will contact you. They'll send you a text, and then we'll help guide you through the process of signing up to be a poll worker. So it can often be a kind of bureaucratic, sometimes confusing process, and we're just a helping hand there. We can answer any questions you have. We'll send you reminders. We'll do everything we can to make sure that process is as easy for you so we can get as many poll workers as possible.
That's fantastic. I think because I watched the episode last night of Smokey Joe's Cafe, and there was a young lady on, and she said that was it last night there was a big push to sign people up. And do you know what the number was?
Yeah, yesterday was National Poll Worker Recruitment Day, which is it's organized by the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission, where it's a big push trying to get as many people to sign up as poll workers as possible. We had a goal for yesterday to get 5,000 poll workers signed up on that day. We didn't quite get to that number, but we still pulled in a good number of poll workers, and hopefully, through the airtime we'll get on this show and in other places, we can get as many people signed up as possible.
That's right, absolutely. And friends at home watching the show, please let your friends know who might have younger, less at risk people in high school or college that this exists, and get them active in their political process. And I think in my entire life that there's never been a greater need to make sure that every vote is counted. So thank you so much, Kai, for coming on tonight and sharing that information. Pollhero.org. There we go. .org. Pollhero.org. I don't want to give the wrong address. Please sign up. Please share the information. And Kai, thank you to you and all of your folks there at Poll Hero for trying to make this election as easy, effortless as possible.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
Oh, God, there's so much going on. It's wonderful that Seth and James can banter back and forth about this, because when you're isolated and you're by yourself, all the thoughts and all the conversations just kind of bounce around your empty Irish melon. There's just so much going on. And I'm not going to get into politics, because tonight is about distracting ourselves from that for the most part. So let's get down to it. I want to bring out 3 members of the creative team from Curtains. 3 very dear friends of mine. He's a composer, singer-songwriter, musician, and author. He's very well known for the hit single "Escape," the Pina Colada song. He gets a lot of. I was actually hoping he'd possibly do the number. We'll see if he has a guitar hanging around or a piano. He wrote the book, music and lyrics, and orchestrated the musical Drood, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which earned him 2 Tony Awards. He created the television series Remember When, which I believe was on AMC. And of course, Curtains. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rupert Holmes.
Hey there, Jason.
Hey, Rupert. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you. You're in out of the rain.
Yes, I came out. Every time I get stuck in the rain, I think, who was that guy who said if you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? It's a stupid idea. Really dumb. Really dumb.
Well, you know that pina colada will warm you up just like that.
Oh, yeah, real quick.
All right, I'm going to bring on our director and captain of the Curtain ship. He's a multiple Tony Award nominee for such shows as the revival of She Loves Me, a second revival of She Loves Me, among many others, Steel Pier, 1776, 12 Angry Men, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, the revival, and Curtains, Mr. Scott Ellis.
Hey,
Scott.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
So happy to be here, Rupert. I've talked to you all during all of this, but I just haven't seen
See everybody, but cramming us into, what is it, a 4x6 frame here.
Oh my
We'll
God.
get smaller and smaller as we add everybody on. And I want to bring out our third creator on the creative team. He's the music director extraordinaire. He's worked with Scott and Susan Stroman and Tommy Thompson to create the huge off-Broadway hit "And the World Goes Around," the music of Candor and Ebb, as well as being the music director for the original Broadway productions of Ragtime, Steel Pier, The Scottsboro Boys, The Visit, and of course, Curtains, Mr. David Loud.
Hello, hello.
Hello, David.
Hello, Maestro. Hello, Maestro.
Jason, hello.
And I neglected to say, because we'll bring you. We're gonna talk about the creative process, but David also played Sasha, the conductor of Robin Hood of the West, in the West.
Musical within the musical, whatever it was.
That's right.
David had the opening number for Act 2.
That's right. The man.
Right.
He did. And he was a showstopper. He was fabulous in the role.
Done. Yeah. Couldn't recover after that one.
No. He
Stopped it
peaked.
right in its tracks.
Now, David, you and Scott, like I said earlier, you did "And the World Goes Around," which I listened to that soundtrack just right before I was moving to New York, and I knew Candor and Ebb through Chicago. I guess a little bit of Chicago, but I really knew Cabaret because that was the film. But that musical review, which was extraordinary, and how so many of you all came together. I mean, Scott, I think you and Stro and Tommy probably knew one another before then.
We did, but that was our big first. Flora the Red Menace, and then that.
Flora.
Right. Now, did Stro work with you on Flora?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Tommy. Yeah, and that's sort of and that was when we decided to go back to Candor and Ebb and talk about doing some project with all of their music, a review. That's how that started. We just had an incredible time. So yeah.
Yeah, I asked Mr. Katz to put up a picture of the wall of curtains. We'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about Freddie and Peter in just a moment. But so you guys came together for that, and then David, you were the music director, and you did all those arrangements for "And the World Goes Around," right?
I did. They trusted me, not knowing anything about me.
I mean, let me just say this: when Candor and Ebb came in and heard some of David's arrangements, they were so blown away. I mean, seriously, they couldn't believe it. I mean, and it was song after song after song. David would be able to take something and turn it that you're listening to a different way, and his work was just phenomenal. I think he and Stroh actually made that show really work. So
I'll speak because David was mine and Marin's music director and accompanist for our cabaret act for many, many years. And we'd be like, we need an And the World Goes Round type medley for Sondheim, and we need one for Irving Berlin, and he can do it. And you just go, here, come up with something, and he does. And like in World Goes Around, sometimes a day goes by, one whole entire day, when I don't think of you. To I can't remember what it is right now.
Remember you.
I don't remember you. I don't remember you. Oh, and those are, to me, lesser known Candor and Ebb songs, and they're probably some of my favorite songs from that show.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys hear productions being done all over the place all the time.
Yeah, I think now we gave them permission, MTI permission, to sort of say, hey, use as many kids as you want. So we get notes and stuff saying, well, we did The World Goes Round with 25 people, and which is great. As long as they're doing it.
Girl.
And they're celebrating Candor and Ebb. That's awesome.
That's right. Do they play the banjo on roller skate? Because I know that was part of the original production, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all that cast had to do roller skates. They did banjos, everything, and they were incredible. And Stroh had them just moving and dancing, and I mean, it was just incredible. So, I'm not pulling back on anything, but that show worked because of David and Stroh. They created such magic during that time. So anyway, that was it.
Well, a good director knows how to delegate, right?
I'm smart enough to surround myself with great people, and that's what we can talk about with Curtains, because that's exactly what I did. Just kind of the people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so Freddie was still alive during the visit, because that was Steel Pier.
Right.
Because that was in '97, the same year I made my debut. And I won't go into it now, but I have a horror story of auditioning for you it actually wasn't auditioning for you. It was dancing with Stroh for Steel Pier.
Blame her.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was completely me. I was the guy that was like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to be the first one to say, I'll dance. I don't partner. I barely dance. I did Six Flags in Opryland. That's about it. I can clog and, kick my heels up. But so I said, yeah, I'll dance with you, not knowing who Susan Stroman was, and then proceeded to step on her feet for the next 38 counts or whatever. Needless to say, I had another show to fall back on. Thank God. But there were a few shows when Freddie did pass away in 2004 that were yet to be produced. Curtains, The Visit, Scottsboro Boys, and Skin of Our Teeth, right?
Yes, all of those. Yeah.
And how did was it Candor or was it a producer? Was it you, Scott, that said, of these shows, what needs to go first?
Well, we were sort of ahead of the game, so to speak, because when we started with, I had heard this. I was visiting Freddie one time out in California, and he had a conversation with Peter Stone, who was the original writer on it. And so they were talking, and I literally overheard them. And I said, "What's that about?" And so he told me a little bit, and I just weaseled my way into it and said, "That sounds really cool. And if you don't have a director, I'd love to." So that's what I did, and we moved forward and did a couple readings, and so we did that, and then sadly, Peter passed away. So Candor and Freddie and I looked at each other and then said, "Now what? What do we do?" And I thought of Rupert, and we went to Rupert and said, "Would you come in?" So actually, Rupert saved the show twice. He really saved the show twice because he came in as a writer, and I'll never forget when he said he was going to start again, and we gave him full, just do what you want. And he called us and said, "Okay, I've finished the script, but because it's a murder mystery, I'm not giving you any pages. I'm going to finish it, and you have to read it. All of you have to read it because you'll never have the experience of reading a mystery ever again for the first time." And I just thought that was so brilliant. So we didn't know who did it. He's the one that created all of that. So he sent a script to Freddie and Candor and I, and we all read it for the first time. And that's how we knew what Rupert was planning to do with the show. And we were just thrilled. It was.
And how much of that was yours, Rupert? I mean, how much did you take of? I mean, I don't know if you want to divulge that information or not. It's I'm sure very personal, but how much of Peter's idea ultimately made it to the page that that we had on Broadway?
I want you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yep. I want to be careful how I answer that.
Sure.
I will say there were a couple of things that I said from the outset that I felt very strongly about. I had written a couple of stage thrillers, not musicals, but actual Broadway comedy thrillers. I won 2 Edgar Awards from the Mystery Writers of America, so I took my mystery writing kind of seriously. I don't take myself seriously, but as you know, but
neither do we. That's okay.
Okay, but again, I really wanted to view it as how it would work as a mystery, as a musical, and as something to fall in love with. I guess the biggest decision that I made, and I kind of put my job on the line. I remember going to Fred's kitchen with Scott and John and saying, "This can't be a contemporary piece." And it was a contemporary piece when I read Peter's version. I said, I can't. I have to put this in the 50s, in the golden age of theater, and we can turn it into a love letter to that era. I said, because these characters can live in a 50s that perhaps never was, but everyone will know that no one acts this way now. So that was a big change. I was told actually that I had to retain the characters that were played by Deb Monk and Ed Hibbert and Michael McCormick, and needless to say, Sasha as well, and that I could do anything else that I wanted. And basically, other than some key lines that occurred in the middle of some songs, and the overall concept, which was Peter's and John's and Fred's, of a detective who comes to solve a murder, but really wants to solve the problems of a musical in a world that he adores and only wants to be in every moment of his life. So that was sort of the gorgeous premise of it. But everything, all murders, love, the romantic relationships, the surprises, those were all new to the script that I wrote.
You can tell if one has ever seen like The Mystery of Edwin Drood or have read, any of your mysteries, which I have and enjoyed tremendously, that it just has Rupert Holmes all over it, particularly the wordplay throughout the book, which is, I think, the score is so wonderful and so Candor and Ebb, but the book is so Rupert Holmes, full of double entendre, triple entendre, play on words, puns, alliterations, in like the most craft and artful way. I mean, I was YouTube diving to try to find some video things to show, and strangely, and I guess good for a good thing, there's not a lot out there. But some of the text, I was just howling, especially at like Deb Monk and Edward Hibbert's take on those lines.
Yeah. Well, what's important when people go to see musical theater, what they say is a wife will say, "Herbie, what do you want to see tonight?" He says, "I want to see alliteration. I really want to see a lot of alliteration. If there's no alliteration, I just don't see how I can drag myself there."
Have I got alliteration for you?
It's onomatopoeia. If it's not in Act 1, I'm leaving at intermission. I'm just so yeah. It was a joy to write it. It was a joy to write it.
Well, speaking of onomatopoeia, speaking of the score, David, you've worked with John and Fred a lot, and I have been fortunate enough to do curtains with you, and then of course the visit, which is very different. How was this? How was this score? I mean, Bill Brown's lush orchestrations with probably one of the largest orchestras we've had on Broadway in a long time, and might ever have in coming years. It's a true love letter to the golden age of Broadway, but it's contemporary still. It has a very feel like it was written now and not in 1950.
Well, Candor and Ebb write from the heart, and it always feels contemporary, no matter what era or style they're writing in. I think Curtains is a masterpiece of celebrating the form of Broadway in every bar, and Bill Brown's beautiful orchestration celebrated that as well. Bill Brown wrote his scores out by hand, and each page of Curtains, the orchestration is a thing of beauty. I mean, he writes out every little note of a harp glissando, and then writes a word you've never heard of to describe what the harpist should be doing. I learned a lot conducting that show just from reading his score.
Yeah.
To have craftsmen like that working on the score made it feel authentically Broadway.
Yeah, you also worked with him on Ragtime, because he orchestrated the original Ragtime.
Yes.
Was there a
score for Ragtime was twice as heavy as my score for Curtains.
Well, you had a lot of heavy lifting to do as Sasha, and this wasn't your first time acting on Broadway either, was it?
No, I've originated 3 roles on Broadway. Ted in Merrily We Roll Along. Ted, the piano player, in Merrily We Roll Along for a good 2 weeks on Broadway. And then Manny the pianist in Terrence McNally's Masterclass. Joe Caldwell and Audrey McDonald.
So it was a natural fit.
So who else were they going to get?
That's right. Now, this is what I love a lot about the show, is that it has that love letter to the 50s. And, I mean, not growing up in the 50s, but watching a lot of Golden Age musicals growing up. I mean, Kiss Me, Kate, and you can name a number of them, but they were always very clean, right? Because they were of that period, and there wasn't. What I love is, and this might be all Freddie, or it might be Peter, or it might be, I know it's Scott. I know that it's just that tinge of blue humor that kind of radiates through and pops up now and again. Who do you think was like leading the charge on that?
I'm going to tell you, it was a phenomenal collaboration. As that's the best part. It was a love letter to theater. So we had this remarkable time, and when Freddie passed away, it was a tough time for all of us. And would we go forward? Would we not go forward? And we kept thinking, no, we've got to go forward because of what this show is about and for. And that's when Rupert stepped in again and helped us with Candor, with lyrics. But I think all of that just came together. We were in a room, and Rob Ashford, phenomenal collaborator and choreographer. All of us it was playful, but it was just playful, and Freddie came with a lot of those lyrics. Rupert picked up the ball and ran with those as far as the script. So, and we had great actors, Jason, as you're one of them. And so it changed all the time. And that cast and leadership with Deb and David and Casey, and all of them were. Casey was so phenomenal. Well, both of you. It was just a perfect experience, to be honest with you.
It was a great company, and as I said earlier about a director knowing how to delegate, but also knowing how to cast. And this is not shooting, and I was a part of that. But what you did, Scott, was you got all of these music theater stalwart actors. Michael McCormick, Michael X. Martin, Patty Goebel. Some people might not know people's names, but they're like, oh, that guy, I saw him last season. Of course, like Deb Monk. And and David was our only ringer, and he's a theater actor. You know, it's KZ, Noah Racy, Megan Sikora. It's just chock full of people who know what they're doing. And I don't mean this to denigrate anyone who is new to music theater and doing it, but there's just something like in your bones, you know, reading the review and going, oh my God, holy shit, you know.
You get those type of people in a room, and the one thing a director can do is step back and trust, because that's their top.
I want to interrupt for a second and say that if you get the CD or whatever I say the CD because CDs have liner notes at least, rather than downloading. But if you get the CD, you'll find something in there that John Cantor and I jointly agreed had to go in the CD, and that's that Curtains would never have happened without Scott Ellis, and he drove this from beginning to end, and he was not going to let this. He was going to make this. He was going to create another Cantor Neb musical that would represent their love of the world that they lived in and created. And Scott was just indefatigable even before I ever came on board. He was just going to make this happen.
Well, I appreciate it, and but I will say I think there was a drive because I owed everything, my career, to Cantor Neb.
Yeah,
they gave me my first shots.
I know.
I mean, thank you. We all did it, but there was an inner drive of those two who I loved.
Sure.
Loved Freddie and
sure
continue to love them both. But
David, you're going to say something?
Well, we did readings for 8 years. That's how indefatigable it was. Literally
8 years.
It's a long time.
Oh my God! Thank God I wouldn't have been able to play it 8 years before I did.
There are readings that I never heard. Someone told me that one of your readings went like 4 hours.
Oh God!
The first act went 4 hours.
Yeah.
For 4 hours.
Oh my God! We had a couple at the beginning that we were just like, "What did we just?"
It was all funny, but at intermission, the whole cast was lined up at the payphone. Evening plans because we haven't started Act 2 yet.
And you know what? I think this is a fortuitous topic because if I don't curtail us into the next segment, we might be here for 4 hours.
Go.
Mr. Katz, would you please give us our next cast members' intro videos?
Great to see you guys.
Hi,
you guys are.
Hi.
No, you guys are staying here.
Okay.
Hyde Pierce earns his first Tony Award for his charismatic performance as Lieutenant Frank Chaffee in the original musical Curtains.
I made my Broadway debut 25 years ago as the waiter in Chris Durang's Beyond Therapy, and the first words I ever spoke on a Broadway stage were, "I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask you to leave." And I'm sitting here tonight, and I'm reminded of Raoul's amazing performance, and my dear friend Michael Service, and Gavin, who tap dances on the ceiling, and Jonathan, who has so much talent at a young age that I have to go take a nap. And I think, oh yeah, they're going to call my name. They're going to say, "David Hyde Pierce, I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask you to leave." I can't believe anything. I'm so grateful to be here, but I can tell you the reasons why I'm here. My voice teacher, Calvin Remsburg, my dance coach, Kate Kaplan, and the entire original company of Spamalot, especially Darlene Wilson, because without what I learned from them, I would never have been ready for Curtains. Scott Ellis, our director, who made sure I did this show and made sure I did it right. All our producers, but especially whoever was mixing the cocktails the night they decided to get behind the show.
I walked off stage. I was in shock. I was actually like so much adrenaline and whatever. I was shaking. I was in a stairwell because I didn't want anyone taking my picture, and I was leaning, trying to collect myself, shaking like a leaf, and I remember going, Rob Ashford. I forgot to thank the choreographer of Curtains. Of all the people I needed to thank, he was probably the most important because the dancing I do in Curtains is beyond anything else. That's the thing no one's ever seen me do to this extent. He gave us a hard-ass dance to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kelsey Grammer and Cass Morgan.
Hi, kid.
How you guys?
I'm crying from your speech. It was so beautiful.
I've got projectile tears coming out of me.
The whole thing is very moving. And Jason, you are an awesome host.
Yes.
Oh,
So good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Lepuc is in the wings. He's probably going, Seth gets me on and off so much faster.
Yeah. So
I beg his forgiveness for, I won't take up too much more of his time, but you know, to be able to talk to you all who I love, worked with, of course, admire, you go into the room and you just go, okay, I'm going to learn at every turn. I'm going to onomatopoeia to my left and dry comedy humor and balls to the walls humor. And, you know, what is there other than like a masterclass going on in this room? So it's my great pleasure to have you. And actually my great pleasure to be able to bring the threads together of your Tony speech so that it's now actually out there in the ether that you thank Rob.
you know what I did when you win a Tony Award the next year, you present. And
Right.
the very first thing I said was, and I'd like to thank Rob Ashford for the greatest dance on Broadway, because I spent a year feeling terrible. So
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, I've got some questions. I'm just gonna. I want it to be open and free, but I did do a little deep dive, you know, on YouTube to find some things that sort of epitomized our sense of humor. That because, like I said, there's nothing of curtains really out there. But Deb, you and Scott you've worked together several times, and you're really good friends. What other shows have you done? I mean, this is a leading question, but
We did Picnic, Steel Pier, Amy and the Orphans, Curtains,
Company.
Company, and we did Terrence's play together. Can't remember the name. Is that bad?
Deb Monk was the first actor I ever in Picnic made an offer to. I had never, I was young, but I had never just went and said, yeah, go make an offer. And I had seen her on stage and I was just sort of blown away. And I was like, yeah, go ask her if she wants to do this.
And I've never gotten an offer since. But thank
from
you,
Scott or from anybody.
honey.
You're welcome.
No, it was great. I love working with Scott. I adore Scott, and we have so much fun together. You know, but I have to tell you, in Curtains, there was many times when I would come out with like 1,000 props and try to make things happen, and he would just look at me and go, "No." We have now a shorthand, and which is great. But I adore him. I love him. He, you know, for him, I'm going to say this in front of his back. All he cares about is telling the story and making everybody look as great as they can. And it's such a great thing. It's not any ego about him in this piece, you know, ever. It's all about everybody else. And he's so generous and kind with that. So I will work with him anytime, even though he won't let me try anything new, but I will.
You keep trying. You'll get it in.
I'll try.
David Katz, show us a little video of Deb's and Scott's chemistry.
Now, baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
A woman walks into a drugstore and she says, "Where are the batteries?" And the guy said, "Come this way." She said, "If I could come that way, I wouldn't need the batteries."
That was from Deb Monk's birthday bash, which was a concert with Deb Monk center stage, and then every Victor Garber, Ron Rifkin, just everybody, all of her dear David Hyde Pierce. I mean, just she attracts the best. And also I had to include that dirty joke because that's sort of like that thin blue line of blue humor that runs through this Curtains company, which is so true to show business. You know, people in community theater have that thin blue line, and they dance that dance that thin blue line when they go out there, because you want to titillate that audience, but you don't want to
Get arrested.
rub them the wrong way. Oh God.
It's funny. I have to say, it's funny to think back. The theater has changed so much, pre-COVID. But when I think back to our rehearsal days, and the stuff we would do, I mean, naughty, nasty, dirty, wonderful things that we would all do because of Deb, and and now you can't, for very good reasons. But
right.
I remember we used to all get on stage and we'd warm up, and one day I was on stage with the entire company in my sweatpants, and Jimmy Newman in our ensemble came up behind me and pantsed me, assuming that I was wearing underwear. And this was wrong. And I can still see, I can't remember who it was, but there were two ensemble ladies sitting right in front of me, and I saw the look on their face, which was a look that said, "Why did we come to work today?" We can't do that anymore. Those days are gone.
Oh my God. And Jimmy Newman was the instigator for a lot of that. I mean, there's Deb, and then there's Jimmy, who is now, for those viewers who might know, he's the cowboy in the Village People. So he is traveling around the globe being dirty at the YMCA.
Crossing the thin blue line. Yeah.
That's right. I wanted to touch on your character, Deb, because she was so brash and and wonderful. And I'll talk about I saw a production of it up here in Chatham last summer. I've not seen a lot of productions of it, but I can't imagine that anyone has that can grasp what this producer is. Now, she may or may not have been based on someone who may or may not be a Broadway producer who is alive and kicking. But did you have any inspirations or influences? Anything you drew upon specifically for that character?
Fred Ebb.
Yeah.
Fred Ebb is every character I've ever played in a Cantor Ebb show. I mean, because what he combines is naughty, 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 dirty, 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 tough, 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 smart, 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 with a huge heart. Sweet. And I always thought of him because he is irreverent and courageous and will speak his mind, and yet lovable. So I certainly didn't have a woman in mind for this, but I believe that the songs they wrote, It's a Business, it kind of lays it out who she is. To me, the characters are so in that music, especially in that song for me, and even the critics song. I mean, it's all very clear who this gal is. The great thing that Scott taught me back when we did Steel Pier was it's great to play these tough characters, really fun, but you also have to have fun with them. And I remember he told me that when I was doing Shelby, and I was so angry, and he said, she actually enjoys what she's doing. It's a fun thing for her to do. And that I have carried that into every show I've ever done, because I've played a lot of tough gals, but it's really important to know that you love it, that all this comes from a love for it and that you love it. So it was a combination of Scott and Candor, and of course all the wonderful lines that Rupert wrote for me. Oh my God. And Scotty, just really guiding me along that way, and just reminding me to have fun, and fine. And then David and I got to do that wonderful scene at the end. It was just so great to have a moment, when you could see that there was vulnerability there and there was something. So it was a lovely payoff. Thank you, Rupert, for that too. I mean, just really lovely. That lovely arc, it's great.
I don't know if you can remember, but the Scott, David, we worked on that scene almost every day. It was like I'd come in with a new scene, and we'd go, and I'd get the input from David, I'd get the input from Deb. Scott would take me aside, and the next day I'd come in and say, "How about this?" we just tweaked that last scene, and boy, the way to have a scene like that at the just before the end of a musical, and to have it land the way it did is so much because of what you guys gave me.
I mean, that goes back to that idea that this group is a collaboration, and David and Deb were incredible leaders, and I do absolutely remember that, going back and working. But part of that drive was you had both David and Deb saying something's not quite right here. Let's try that, and they really guided us through the process. And it was I keep saying it, but it was a total joy, to sort of figure it out. But you can't figure it out without great actors, I don't think. So.
Well, this is an opportunity I'm going to take. Speaking of tough Broadway broads, we have a surprise guest who would like to come on right now from Provincetown. Are you there, Mr. Katz? Do we still have him? I didn't know how complicated this is for me to text, ask you questions, listen to your responses, and then know Seth is going to make an appearance, but it doesn't seem like he's there. Well, I was like, show queen or a tough broad. That's a good segue. And now it's just completely gone out the window. David. Oh, not coming. No, not coming. Okay. Well, there you go. Speaking of another person who I was expecting and then wasn't expecting. Anyway, you don't want to tell an audience that, guess what you're not going to get tonight. But Candor called me today and he's like, Jason, it's Candor. Are we doing this tonight? And I was like, when I emailed you, you didn't reply. Oh, okay. Well, I made other plans anyway. But he sends his love.
So Candor.
Oh my goodness.
So Candor.
Yeah. I'm going to, because I can't bear to let our incredible Dr. Jonathan LaPook hang out any longer. I'm going to say goodbye to Scott and David Loud. You other three are going to hang out in the green room. Thank you all so much for your time and for your love and your generosity for being here. I love you all tremendously.
Jason, thanks for doing this. Really, what a joy.
So great to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
I'm going to bring on. There he is, Dr. John LaPook. I'm fine. Are you still awake?
I'm still awake. No, I understand what you're doing. I'm paying penance for every doctor who's ever made you wait in in a waiting room in your life, or anybody who's ever had to wait. But
well,
I'm happy to meet you.
Learned something.
I did. But I want to tell you something. From the beginning of my practice, it always made me anxious if I was late. And my mother, dinner was at 6 o'clock, and I have three sisters. If we were 5 minutes late, you've kept 5 people waiting for 5 minutes. You owe me 25 minutes. So my patients come like within 5 minutes. They really do.
Being on a show business loop, you're like, got to keep it going. But we're on the internet, which doesn't have a beginning or an end. So I'm sorry I got caught up.
No, it's no problem at all. It's I have to give a little tip though. Every time I've bumped into David Hyde Pierce over the years, but 28 years ago I met him for the first time when he was doing a show called The Powers That Be. And all I'm going to say for you David Hyde Pierce fans is Google or go to YouTube and type in The Powers That Be and David Hyde Pierce, and you are in for the treat of treats. This genius character who he embodied, which was before Frasier, and I think it helped. He has said it helped launch his career. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. Well, not to get too serious, but we're obviously in a very serious situation. And the few times that I've been on the show before, just as a guest, I've always found it enlightening what you have to bring to the table and let everybody know. But also, I hope people have told you bring a certain comfort, even if you're handing us some difficult news to hear, because that's all we're really getting right now with no clear answer in sight. So thank you for that. Now what's the update for today?
Well, I think, there's some good news. You've heard that steroids can help decrease mortality. There's a bunch of more studies that are supporting that. So we have some much better treatment right now. It's a little bit of a mixed bag because, there's a fear of politicization of this whole process. Yeah. And that there was an emergency use authorization for convalescent plasma, which, the powers that be made a big hoopla about. And then, but the NIH and others, the NIH came out with, the National Institutes of Health came out with a statement, a study yesterday, or a position saying basically this hasn't yet been proven to be effective. So I think what we're going, and there are, we haven't heard as much from the Centers for Disease Control as we want, and there have been some issues about politicization there. So I think where that leaves us right now is, if ever there was a time to embrace science, you've heard me say that a bunch of times, but the scientists, the public health officials, the physicians are all saying we really, really, really have to put politics to the side here, because we're now getting into the time, the last few months, where, we're at warp speed going for a vaccine, right? And we have to have the trust of everybody to know that it's not being, sometimes on warp speed on Star Trek, right? When they go into warp speed, the ship can shake a little bit, right?
That's right.
You want to
She's not holding together, Captain. She's not holding together.
I'm gonna give you more power, Captain. I'm sitting on my engine as it is. Anyway, that's my Scotty invitation. Thank you very much.
Very good. Very good.
You want to make sure that that you're doing it based on the science. Now, I had an exclusive interview with Dr. Stephen Hahn, who's the head of the FDA, and it was broadcast yesterday. I interviewed him on Monday, and he said, I promise you it's not going to be politicized. I promise you that the decision about whether we approve or give an emergency use authorization earlier, it's not going to be based on politics. Because the fear is that with the election looming, there's going to be a pressure to make some sort of announcement prior to election day. And the thinking of some is that it's not going to get totally approved for everybody, but it may be for a subset of the population that's particularly at high risk, they want to make it, that there may be an emergency use authorization that's declared. And what we want to make sure, and what Dr. Hahn has promised, is that an FDA advisory panel will review all that before any kind of decision is made. So we're really hoping that this follows the science. And I think that's what people need to hear right now. They need to know that nobody has any dog in the fight. It's whatever the science shows.
Yeah, and it's been proven, exactly your point, over and over, that it seems that every time you hear good news, it is, politicized. It's this drug is going to do it, and let's push through. We're going to do it, and then that's not valuable. It's not viable. And here's another thing. And the plasma. God, was it just yesterday that they came out with that?
Last week they came out saying. Yesterday they came out. The NIH felt. They're not saying it's related to the. Well, no. Remember, it's the FDA that did the emergency use authorization, separate. And then the NIH, National Institutes of Health, came out with a separate statement, which they're saying is not contradicting that. But by the way, there's no controlled randomized trials yet to prove that it's effective. Now, the emergency use authorization doesn't necessarily have to have that definitive proof, because they can go on a number of factors because it's an emergency. So that's where the judgment comes in, and that's where people really have to believe that there's no politics involved. Dr. Tom Inglesby, who's who's an infectious disease expert, wonderful, really smart guy from Johns Hopkins. I interviewed him at the beginning of March. It was the first 60 Minutes piece about COVID. And I said to him, you can understand the instinct of a public health official or of a government official to want to reassure the public. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, John, we are not departments of public reassurance. We are departments of public health.
Good.
I think that's the statement of the pandemic. We have to remember that people can take it. They want to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And as this data comes in, or data comes in for the about the vaccine, it's got to be utterly transparent. It can't be, well, that's proprietary. We can't tell you all. There's stuff we know. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We have to have all the facts. And then there are a lot of smart people in this country, scientists, epidemiologists, statisticians, who will look at it. And if the preponderance of people, smart people, say, you know what, this looks good, fine, I'm all in. But you don't want, there's already about 30% of the country who is vaccine hesitant, who's saying they're not taking the vaccine.
Well, you see the way that the cards are being shuffled in government. You know, people are in, they're out, and they seem to be arbitrarily or for some personal reason, not to get into all that, but you wonder, because the CDC, NIH, everything is sort of a mystery to us laymen, right? I mean, you know the machinations and you know who to trust. And you know that there is accountability and people who you respect, and someone looks you dead in the eye and says, don't worry about it. And you can breathe calmly, breathe easier. We can breathe easier. But how do we know that? We're getting this from, and it's all about, not just about media, but it's what's coming directly out of politicians' mouths that make us just wonder. And so this is, I think, a great case in point. What I said earlier about you making us feel better, that you had this one-on-one, we trust you, we've heard from you, and you've really garnered our trust and respect. And so to hear that just makes us, I think, go, oh, I'm going to enjoy the second part of the Curtains reunion a little bit easier.
Well, I have to say, this is the first time we've met, Matt. You know, I've seen in a little corner of the box there, but you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Were you nervous about doing this for the first time?
I wasn't. You know, I kind of got my nerves.
No way, I'm a pro.
Yeah, in a way, over a period of years, it's one of the first times I was asked to do something like high stakes. My late wife and I were singing with the Boston Pops on the Esplanade on the 4th of July, and in front of 500,000 people plus the television audience. And Keith Lockhart said the country singer who was on that night couldn't do the patriotic medley. Could you and Marin do it? And it was literally like 4 hours. So I've learned to trust what I've done over the years, and I'm glad. Thank you very much for saying that it's coming off okay.
It's coming off fine.
Good.
Well,
I had one question before you go.
Of course.
And it's very sort of pedantic, I think, because we've heard over and over, obviously, you wear a mask, keeping a distance, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer. My sister is an associate professor of acting at a university, and she's doing a hybrid right now. So some classes will be in person, and most of them are virtual. And she mentioned to me that she was going to wear a face mask, one of those screens, and not wear her mask so that they could see her speak. And there is some distance, but I was thinking it's the combination of the mask and the mask that's important, right?
Yeah, I just saw some data. I don't know, potato. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a thief when saying data, but I think it's data. But anyway, I have seen some evidence that the shield alone is not enough. That's your sister? I would tell her that, and if you email me, David has my email. I can try to forward you that information. Because it may have an initial stopping of the spray, but then think about it. It's aerosolized. That's what the big discovery has been in the last few months. The aerosol scientists have known it for a long time, but the 6-foot business when you're indoors, that's kind of going away or gone away because the smaller ones or even some of the larger ones can go across a room in a poorly ventilated room. So the old thing of, it's got to be within 6 feet that you need to wear a mask. No, I'm saying to everybody, all my patients, everybody, if you're indoors, wear a mask. If with people who are not in your pod. So I think she's going to need to wear a mask. You can't get away with it with just now. If you're outdoors, that can be a different issue, and if there's great ventilation. But I would not rely on that face shield alone.
Well, thank you for that. I'm great. She's probably watching, and she's like, "Why did you tell him I wanted to do that?" But I wanted to make sure.
It's very legitimate. Everybody's trying to figure it out. And there are layers of protection. I think the bottom line for everybody, because it's like, is this safe? Is that safe? Nothing aside from being in a hermetically sealed container will be 100% safe. So you do layers of protection. If I want to go outside to a restaurant or whatever, is the restaurant outside? How far are the tables from each other? Am I in a state that's a low prevalence of disease? Am I wearing a mask, at appropriate times? All things like that. Nothing's absolutely perfect, and so you're taking some degree of risk, but you want to try to minimize it.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for all the updates. I again grateful for you coming here and giving us a little bit of confidence and ease. And I again apologize for keeping you, but
oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I was really enjoying watching it. Seriously, everybody, and it's great people. So what's not to like?
Perfect. Well, there's more to come. Thank you, Dr. LePuc, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next episode. Take care.
All right. So we're going to, Mr. Katz, are you there? Do you have, oh, look, there's David Hyde Pierce, Rupert Holmes, Debra Monk. Everyone's back. Well, we're just shoving everybody on at once. That's great because we're running along.
Hey, guys. You look
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Edward.
Hi, Edward.
Hi.
Hello, Jill.
Edward. Hi.
You're so tall.
Hi, sweetheart. It's like waiting for Godot here.
We wanted to take a quick moment and have David read some of our
So these
donations.
Are donations that people have made. So just to acknowledge them. First from Dennis and Dawn from Indiana, who are friends of mine. Hi, you guys. Gave $51. That is very cool. Debra from California gave $2,060 in honor of Jason. I wonder what that's about. And then Mary gave $103, and she says, "Thank you, Jason, Curtains cast and creatives. Curtains is such a fun, charming, and heartwarming show. And Jason, you're my biggest Broadway crush." So,
thank you.
Looks like Jason gets around. But anyway, that is so generous of you guys. Thank you. And I know we have more besides that, but that's really awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's just so hard to contain myself on talking with people, as you can obviously tell. It's after 9 o'clock and the show's only supposed to be an hour long. I don't have that penchant of what Seth has of being able to talk and cut people off and move things along. I want to hear everything about it. All right. Well, I'm going to scan through my notes. What I'd love to do, if this is okay with everybody, is show our Curtains video that we made a couple of months ago. Premiered here.
Ancient history.
So the audience has a reference, and I'll do this as quickly as possible. A couple months ago, like April or May, I was walking around doing my country road ramble, just trying to meditate and be with nature. And I was thinking about all the high school students and college students who weren't going to be able to do their musical production this year, and how devastating that would have been to me, right? I'm sure any of us, something that you love so much just yanked out from underneath you. And last year I saw Curtains at the next town over here at the Mac Hayden Theater. And I was overwhelmed by the spirit and the generosity and the love that we experienced, when we were putting it together, but as they were experiencing it in this theater in the round. So it was quite an extraordinary thing to witness. How are you going to do Curtains in the round? And they did an extraordinary job. But it also made me think of all of us who professional actors, then community theater and regional theaters, professional, of course, in the regions, who don't have any work. And what does that mean? And when will we come back? And the Actors Fund, as I mentioned earlier, has a specific website, and it's actorsfund.org/get-help. And they have a list of resources. There it is right there. List of resources for people in the industry who need a couple $100, need whatever they might need. There's a list of different organizations that they can apply for money to help them through at this time. And of course, the other resources the Actors Fund has. So anyway, I wanted to put together a musical video of the song "Show People," which is sort of the Candor Neb version of "There's No Business Like Show Business." So this is what we came up with. We've been dying to share it with you, Mr. Katz. Does anybody know what this meeting is all about?
Wait a minute, excuse me.
I didn't read
How's this shutdown supposed to end?
Oh, how long does a pandemic last? I don't even know what that is.
I'm going home to Texas, so...
Homeschooling? I barely graduated high school.
There's still no toilet paper anywhere.
Well, darling, I do have a bidet.
Wait a minute! I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's important right now to shut down all non-essential businesses. And in this situation, and only in this situation, show business is not an essential business.
You're kidding.
How dare she?
I knew I shouldn't have quit begging at Balducci's.
You guys. Listen. Putting on a musical has got to be the most fulfilling thing a person could ever hope to do. But for the foreseeable future, all the theaters across the country and around the world, they got to shut down. Broadway, off-Broadway.
They both shut?
Regional, summer stock, and yes, even the high school productions.
The High School Musical?
Well, that's the last straw.
Balls.
Hey. These days, there's a lot of real heroes around. Well, you people, all of you in the theater community, and all of you in community theater, you're all heroes to me. And I believe in my heart that the show will go on again. Speaking of heroes, you're a special kind of people known as show people. You live in a world of your own. The audience paid plenty to sit there and clap, hearing you sing, watching you tap. Did you know your dentist longs to be in show business? Your window washer wants to be a star. And though your analyst may never couch it that way,
Analyst couch!
you don't know how lucky you are. Thanks, Deb. Some policemen and detectives dream of show business. They can't get arrested, but still they sit around the station and fancy this life. They jeer Sherlock Holmes and cheer Mac the Knight.
Ask your cleaning lady, don't you dream of show business to vocalize or stretch beside a bar?
Her affirmative shrug as she shampoos your rug lets you know how lucky you are.
There's a special kind of aura around a show person.
Just ask the next waiter you meet.
He walks in fifth position, his voice is just grand.
He gives you the check, you give him a hand.
If the boys in valet parking turn to show business, they could scalp a higher ticket for your car.
And my tree surgeon now started taking a bow. A bow, get it? B-O-U-G.
Don't you know how lucky you are? We're a special kind of people known as show people. We live in a world of our own. Our days are tied to curtains, they rise and they fall. We're born every night at half-hour call.
Half hour.
Oh.
He can't picture being anything but show people. Civilians find the whole thing quite bizarre. But that hop in our hearts when the overture Show people. Show people.
Come on, everybody!
It's an honor and a joy to be in show business. I feel and soft like Iggy and I'm gone. At the last curtain call, I'm the envy of all. So I know the show must
go on.
So thrilling for show people and all. So thrilling for show people and all. So thrilling for show people.
Well,
that was fun.
You know what?
That-
I
you
still
were so
got it. I
wonderful.
still got it. I felt a little
That-
boxed in.
You're always
But you know what?
and
You
guys
were
too.
great.
Nice
Fabulous.
job up
Scott
there
Ellis,
and down there
no
below.
notes. When I'm in a box, no notes.
Where?
I'm also braless. That's the rule.
I think
in
we
a
should do a
box,
revival of the show.
don't
but
have
all
to
be
wear a
little
bra.
boxes.
Everybody knows that. You want to see? No, I'll show you later. Come on, everybody!
It's an honor and a joy to be in show business. I feel and soft like Iggy and I'm gone. At the last curtain call, I'm the envy of all. So I know the show must
go on.
So thrilling for show people and all. So thrilling for show people and all. So thrilling for show
Wow.
That was amazing.
It's incredible,
Oh.
Jason, that you wrangled us all together. That's just crazy.
It's amazing that Edward Hibbert figured out how to get himself on tape.
Isn't that right?
Well, you know, I wanted to include, right, it takes a village to put a show together. It's not just the writers and the composers and the actors and the directors. It's the creative team. You know, we had our lighting designer, our set designer, Ana Luisos. You know, it takes everyone. And for the video, it took Scott Rollison to go over to Edward's apartment and help him film.
Oh, yes.
I knew it.
But that's
Oh,
the dedication that they take.
But handled with great aplomb, I have to say.
Absolutely.
Yes. You'd never have known a thing.
Do you guys does that make you tear up like me? I mean,
Oh,
not only the nostalgia for the show, but for what it means right now.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's just such a void now, and I miss everybody, and just the chance. This is such a gift to us. I hope people are still watching, but who cares? Because we're getting to see each other, which is so great. Because when you're reminded of a company like that, and the time and the life that you share over the course of rehearsals and a run, oh God, it just reminds me how much we all miss that.
I think for me, it even when you're not in a show, I guess I didn't realize this, but I take great comfort in knowing 8 p.m. every night, the curtains were going up around the world, wherever we were. So even if you weren't in a show, I guess I just loved knowing that it was still going on and having that end and taken away. Just, a void. It feels empty. It feels sad that those theaters are sitting dark right now. I know they have to.
And also hearing those incredible overture we heard every night, that was such a tonic.
Yeah.
That beautiful score. And I think that's what's so sad about what's happening now. it's a dying art. I mean, there are not musicals like that anymore. You hear that overture and that wonderful book, and I don't know, it's not there anymore. It's bad movies based on, musicals based on bad movies, and it's sad.
It is totally it's totally refreshing to do like an original musical, but that feels like it's been around for a long time. Like we were essentially doing Kiss Me Kate, it was that kind of feel, but it had that wonderful, gratifying twist of the murder mystery, which how many of those are there, Rupert? And you've written all of them, right?
I do.
It's Deb and David and I once got to see a very fine production of Curtains, and it was a strange production because it had all of our costumes from Broadway, and so from the neck down, it was our show. But it was like one of those children's books where the heads were all changed on the different bodies. And I turned to Deb after it, and I said, "How'd you feel?" And Deb said to me, "It just made me think what a very special time we had with Curtains." And, a lot of that's coming from David and Deb and Scott and Candor and Eb down. But and right now, I sort of feel that way about everything I love about theater, is that at least for the moment, it just feels like we didn't, as much as all of us just bleed theater, I don't think we could possibly imagine how it feels when there's a world where that's been put on hiatus until further notice. And what Jill said was so true about how reassuring it is always to know that at 8 o'clock, or more like 8:05, theater is going on somewhere. Very sad.
Yeah, it's so very strange. When I was I was just asked like 2 days ago to step in to this host thing. And of course, being a writer and director, I had to like plan everything out, like you do when you create a cabaret, say, or a concert. You plan it out and then you let there be room to breathe. So it's not something unfamiliar. But what is unfamiliar is getting ready for something. I was... sometimes I have to make certain trips to certain rooms in a building before a performance because like everything's David, but that was happening. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't had this. What is this? It's that kind of like the show, the curtains getting ready to rise. And, it's something to, if you write, if you have some sort of creative outlet that you can do by yourself, but it's not the same, especially like dancing. Karen, I mean, is that something like you're really missing, or do you dance around the kitchen with Gertie?
A little bit, not quite the same, but oh yes, I miss it terribly. And but what I really miss is the camaraderie with the people. Being tactile, actually like putting your arms around somebody and dancing and just singing to them, spitting in their. Yeah. But yeah, there's something about the visceral quality of theater and the camaraderie and the responsibility for each other that we have.
And also our wonderful, wonderful audiences.
And that too.
The incredible people that really got our show going. I mean, I don't know if any of us expected Curtains to be as loved as it became, but it became that way when we started it back in LA. And I was actually, I think we were all a little surprised how much they liked it, and it was such a lovely thing that continued and continues. Thank God to all the kids who have adopted the show and love it so much. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was surprised. Rupert knows this, of course, and maybe the rest of you do too. I didn't realize how many countries around the world the show has been.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been in Prague, it's been in Poland, and it will continue on after all of this COVID hopefully is over. And so the show goes on and on and on, like Deb sings in the show. But I didn't realize how. I realize it's been done a lot in this country, but all over the world. It's exciting. It's such a.
Hey, Edward, do you remember you and I seeing it? We went to the Guildhall
at a drama school. Indeed.
School, and they were putting on a like high school age production of all these little British kids doing curtains, and we sat there and we just wept because it was so beautiful that this thing that we had all helped create had this life, and here were these people having the time of their lives putting it on in this little school in London. It's just it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah, I mean that the experience. I mean, theater and television and film have their artistic. I don't know what the word is. I'm just going to move on to what I'm going to say. Is that what theater is really being with one another, being in a room with one another. It epitomizes community to the nth degree. We're creating. There's an orchestra that's under this stage. There's a community that's a part of this community, and the crew is making everything run, wardrobe, hair, and then we're bringing this monolithic, community to this audience who are a variety of disparate people coming from different countries, from different backgrounds, that come together because of a love of theater, telling a story, sitting together, laughing. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a half-filled audience because no one knows when to laugh or clap, because there's that distance. But when it's packed and someone titters right here, it ripples through the house. And we don't have that kind of electricity, that human electricity, that connection. And it's the more I talk about it, the more it makes me emotional. That lack of it.
Do you remember when we were doing the show, the stagehand strike happened? And I think we had a 3-week break maybe from doing the show. And I'll never forget coming back. And we had to do a rehearsal because it had been so long since we had done the show. And I remember David and I rehearsing Tough Act to Follow. And first of all, like how quickly you fall out of shape, like vocally, physically, it was crazy. But Rob Ashford came and I just remember him looking at like the whole company and being like, y'all need to calm down. But we were just so excited. Like the energy was over the top, that he had to remind us like, woo, bring it down. I can't imagine what it's going to feel like for those shows that get to reunite and go back to work. It's going to be so exciting, and to be in the audience when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to not stop this conversation, but I want to throw in something because we were going to be. Oh, look, there's a picture of. You put that back up, David. There's DHP and Jill kissing at the Six Pros in Los Angeles.
Aww.
That's perfect timing, Mr. Katz. Talk about community. I mean, that's a death wish today, to pack us all in a room so tightly, the orchestra and the cast. But what a beautiful, I really wanted that image because you guys ride off in the sunset at the end of Curtains together. And, that love story, it goes hand in hand with the love story of the theater, which is Chaffee's journey, right? He comes in, he has fine times with his coffee shop mornings and brothel nights. What was the lyric?
Lunch counter mornings and coffee shop nights.
That's right. I didn't sing it, so I didn't remember the lyric. But the idea that he comes in wanting to, he's a community theater actor. He does the such and such players, and he gets to commune with these professionals who are moving this show to Broadway, and he gets to participate in it, and not only participate, but make it a better show. And I'm not trying to paint any great picture over Curtains. It is a fantastic musical, but I think there's so much more to be mined for those of us who love the theater. And I think that's when people in high schools and community theaters do it, that they're just like, I don't know how many emails I've gotten. I'm playing Aaron Fox. Do you have any suggestions? I Miss the Music. We're doing this. What do you think about that? And it's like you're talking to a cousin, because we're all sort of intertwined and related in this family. And it's just beautiful. I don't want to end this evening because it is just so extraordinary, but we're about a half an hour over what they normally do. But like the internet has no beginning, middle, or end, so this can just go on into infinity. I do want to ask Karen, because I think she might have on her text some more donations, because some generous people have been sending in donations. So Karen?
Sure. Cecily from Colorado sent $10. Thanks so much to the cast of Curtains. The cast album has always lifted my spirits in dark moments, and now more than ever, I'm so grateful for the show and its wonderful performances. Amaya from New York, $10. Hi, Jason. Thanks for the great show. We are big fans. Emily from London, $10. Jason! Exclamation mark. You're smashing the host. You're smashing the hosting. Yes, you are. Andy from Arizona, $51. I am one of the world's biggest Curtains fans, just losing my mind over this reunion. Oh, and my donation is in honor of cast member Megan Sikora, my favorite actress. I fell hard for this show, and I've listened to it every day for years. So, there.
Very fantastic.
Thank you so much for contributing.
She mentioned Megan Sikora, and I have the IBDB list up here because a lot of our company members can't be here, so I'm going to rattle through everybody's names just because we love them all, and if I could have a giant-ass Zoom interview, I would have everybody. So no in particular order, just reading them down. John Bolton, Michael X. Martin, Michael McCormick, Noah Racy, Ernie Sabella, Megan Sikora, Neely Bassman, Kevin Bernard, Ward Billison, Paula Liggett Chase, Jennifer Dunn, Matt Farnsworth, Patty Goebel, Marianne Lamb, Brittany Marson, Jim Newman, Joe Aaron Reed, Darcy Roberts, Chris Spalding, and then our swings. This is just the opening night company: Ashley Amber, David Edgars, J. Austin Iyer, Allison Spratt, and Jerome Vavona. On top of our designers, William Ivy Long, Anna Luisos, Peter Kazarowski, Bill Brown, our orchestrator. Really, just go on our IBDB and say a gentle prayer for all those beautiful souls that aren't here with us tonight. They're with us. No one's gone, but they're just not with us here. I love each and every one of you, and I miss you, and I hope that we can come together and have cocktails and tell dirty jokes and reminisce in person someday very, very soon.
And Jason, a dirty joke every night. Don't forget that. You started that. Jill, you and I were dressing room neighbors, and you would come in and tell a filthy joke. I would try and respond. And then Jill, bless her, I've still got it, Jill, wrote out
what you're going to say.
Certain comments that I said backstage. And then in a beautiful little book.
I made a book for Edward because he had so many wonderful one-liners, but one of my favorite ones was he rushed up to the dressing room and he goes, "There's a camera in the audience. Someone's filming us. I have to go put more makeup on."
And I was in a rage. I put on more mascara. Sorry.
Oh, well, thank you all again. Please, if you're watching this and it's not live, you can still make donations. Go to starsinthehouse.com or text Fund 2020 to 56512. Thank you for your donations tonight. Also, just an FYI, if you go to actorsfund.org/showpeople, you can make a donation specifically in the name of the Curtains Company. So there's a page dedicated to all of you Curtains lovers. And there it is, actorsfund.org/showpeople. Again, actorsfund.org/get-help. If you need financial assistance, Actors Fund is there to help you show people in any way, shape, or form they can. And please reach out. Everyone, I love you. Be safe. And thank you to our audience.
Bravo, Jason.
Bravo.
Hey, guys.
Bravo.
Thank you. Seth, James, enjoy your time off.